Hey friends, this is Chaplain Charles Riffey here again at VCU Health and Massey Cancer Center. We're beginning again another monthly part of our spiritual care series, looking at survivorship techniques and self-care techniques that help us and guide us in our present and future journeys. One of the things that we're going to be talking about today is the idea of creating space that speaks to who you are, space that is positive, space that helps motivate the journey and the mindset that you are wishing to surround yourself with amid the many different things that are sort of occurring around us or within our minds and in our hearts. And I want to begin with a particular idea, a particular story. I want you to imagine that you are trying to get a grip on where your child, if you have a child, or where a family member is in their life and their heart. And by doing so, you visit their room. The question is, what's in the room and what is the room trying to tell you? As a child, I can remember my parents coming in and they would see that throughout my growth, the room would change quite a bit. One would have stuffed animals all over the place. The window curtains were open and the light was bright. As I became a teenager, I had posters of sports and music all over the place, plastered. The curtains were probably pulled. It was dark. There was probably a lava lamp in there. Who knows what was going on? But the idea is that as they could enter that space, they might be able to get a glimpse of not only what was meaningful to me, but also sort of where was my hand in my heart? Was I in a good mood? Was I in need of help? Was I in need of support? Was I in need of friendship? All of these things by just simply looking around and seeing what around us might actually speak to where we are in our particular journeys. I've done this practice, and I believe that family members also do this too. When you go into a hospital room, what is it that you see? From a professional standpoint, you might want individuals to see, well, this place looks clean, it looks sterile, it looks safe. I'm happy with that. But what it does lack outside of a clinical setting is personality. It lacks warmth sometimes. And when you enter a patient's room, you might see somebody with no flowers, no pictures, no cards. The windows are drawn shut, the lights are off, the blankets are over the head. You might see the exact opposite of that, or anything in between. Religious items, sports memorabilia, magazines, books, the TV is playing. All of it speaks to a certain atmosphere that is going on inside here, or these outside influences will actually affect what's going on in here. So the idea of creating space as a spiritual practice, as a psychological health practice, is nothing new. And patients here at Massey have been and are continuing to do things that might surprise you and might actually benefit you in your practices moving forward in your treatment or in coming about and setting up space outside near your home or as you're engaging other people in the community. And my hope is that by sharing a few of these stories, some of them are a little bit funny and some of them are really touching, uh, it is something that might spark in your heart a desire to actually move about and claim things and create things around you that will be lasting and meaningful. And I want to start with this. You might notice that if there are some people there at Massey, especially in the infusion center, some are new and some are coming with a lot of things with them. They are prepared, right? That's the word that I like to use. It could be, and one of the websites that I really like is like a packing list for people that are going through chemotherapy. One of the breast care organizations called Breasties, thebreasties.org, offers a list, and so does cancercenter.com, but what to bring to chemo, your favorite snacks, as opposed to something that is offered here at the hospital, something that you know sits well with you, something that you enjoy and you can tie to memory, a favorite and familiar pillow, a more comfortable blanket, a blanket that actually has nice color or a design or a message, or even a story from those who may have made it or those who actually gave it to you. The ability to set up other things as well, bringing books, bringing knitting, coloring books, things of that nature, claiming areas within that space can help produce an atmosphere that is less clinical and more personal. And some of my favorite stories are those that would actually bring a little bit more either message oriented or drama into this treatment encounter. And one of which I cannot show you, but I wish to tell you. There is an individual that always brings a wooden plaque that faces them on their table. And as it faces them, it says, life is today. Live your life now. Life is now. And being able to see that and focus on it, that particular individual is able to remind herself whether or not things are an easier day or whether things have become a little bit more difficult that day, to not, in her own mind, go too far ahead or too far back in her past and try to find the good and the calm and the meaning within her present circumstances, find the joy and the peace within the present circumstances. Bringing that plaque every day is very meaningful to her. And I remember when she forgot it one time, we made and wrote a sign so that she could see the same message. Essentially, life is now. Okay. I have a few props too, which I think are meaningful. We have a monkey lady that brings different things. I'm calling this guy Herbert just because he looks like Herbert to me. This is to hang on an infusion pole. And you'd be surprised at how many people actually do bring this because it becomes their mascot. I have a friend that brings a garden gnome because that gnome has brought him good luck in the past. He's named that gnome, it's his mascot. I have a friend who brought a necktie and has placed it on the infusion pole, and it's a tie for Stan the stand. And every single week is a different tie. These individuals are trying to set up imitations of what brings them life interiorly into an external world. Some people love humor as a way to cope with the realities of having to wait for very long times or knowing that sometimes they may not be feeling very well because of the treatments that they're receiving. But laughter or a story or a mantra or something that brings good luck is transformative. It truly is. Because I believe, and I think many other people do, that small things are big things. And often the smallest things that we do not really give credence to are the lasting and most meaningful things that we bring with us when we recall stories from the past. And I wish to leave with a couple of others that I think might be helpful. As you go about your particular day, the things that you bring with you, they can be things of comfort. They can be things of peace or nourishment. They can be things that bring joy that help you in your sleep. They can be things that are joy and that bring laughter to your heart. There are no right or wrong answers, but I encourage you that the space around you is something that you can claim. There was an individual that brought a Wonder Woman doll, and this was like from the 1970s. She found an action figure from the 1970s and her invisible plane, and she would point it directly at the chemo that she was getting, and it was a clear bag, right? So the invisibility and the power of the superhero was something that was going to safeguard her as a woman, to be courageous amid things that are hard. And I've seen other things too. I've seen toy soldiers. I'm one that brings up the analogy that this is part of a journey. Other people use mantra that this is a fight. The persons that brought those action figures or those toy soldiers use that as a way to help keep their mind and their hearts in a positive and encouraging and a hopeful space. And they bring that with them as a part of their expression of meaning and purpose. And because of that, that's part of their spirituality. Wherever we're able to transcend from ourselves and connect meaning with other people or the things around us, we are leaning into our spiritual selves, not just simply our emotional and our mental selves. So there was a study which I wish to read to you, and I'll leave you on this short note. Needs and self-care efficacy for cancer patients suffering from side effects of chemotherapy. This was National Institute of Health article, NIH.gov. And although the title is so lovely, as we know that many research articles have wonderful titles, there were some things that I thought were very important that were brought up through personal interviews with individuals that were going through or had just recently finished their own treatments, active treatments. And when we think of psychological and spiritual and emotional needs, these particular themes caught up. To cope with life, to talk about problems with family or friends, to feel patience and calm, to be able to do exercises or create space that allowed one to stay positive, to handle anxiety, being able to create an atmosphere around us in physical ways is one way to do all of those things. It can connect us to family, it can help us to feel less anxious. From a spiritual needs, to have a positive spiritual outlook in life. Where do we find hope? Sometimes it could be something as simple as finding our smile. When we smile, even in the midst of something that is hard, we can truly gauge why something feels as hard as it does. But then also we can know the opposite. Despite the hard, we know what true joy feels like. And being able to hold those in tension allows us to be a more whole human being as we go about our journeys, looking for healing emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So friends, as we move forward, whether you're coming in for a check-in, whether you know a family member who may be a patient in the future, whether you're in active treatment, whether you are at home and trying to live your own life outside of this clinical setting, think about the space that surrounds you. Be courageous to create something, because what you create around you speaks to something that is deep within you. And if we do so with purpose and with meaning and with hope, we can bring healing not only to ourselves, but to the people around us. It is good to have a safe and clean and sterile clinical space, but we have to have spirit in there too, because that is what allows true healing and connection between strangers who then may become friends over time, partners, joint partners in healing. All right, friends, thank you very much for joining me this particular month. Next month, we're going to take another step further with a completely different topic, and I hope that you will join. And if you find comfort from that, I hope that you will share that with other friends through social media. And if you ever have any questions, please email me at charles.riffee, RIFFEE, @vcu.org. Thank you, my friends. Blessings.